We are back with former CIA intelligence officer Michele Rigby Assad. Here's what I really want to know, your most frightening day in the field.
So there was one particular location that we served where there were a lot of kidnappings and carjackings. And in that location, my husband and I told each other, you can never get taken, because people would be taken off the streets of the capital city and sold to Al-Qaeda, and they were always killed. And so that particular day I was driving in the car by myself, and I had a situation in which my car was being surrounded by local men, and I realized that once I was completely surrounded, there was a very high chance that it could go south really quickly. And I had to end up using my car as what we call use your car as a weapon to get out of danger, and that was definitely one of my most scary moments.
And then after that, did you make a rule like I'll never drive alone again in this city?
No, I had to often when my husband was traveling and I was by myself, so you had to get back in your car and do it again.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you manage that daily risk for you and your husband?
You really have to put your life in the hands of God. And you just had to focus and make sure you had situational awareness. But ultimately, like, my life is in God's hands, and I just have to do the very best I can each day to maximize the time I've been given on this earth.
So good.
Yeah.
You tell a story in the book about a man named Mansour, and he was with Al-Qaeda. He was somebody who had given intelligence in the past, and I think this is cool how the Holy Spirit works with a CIA agent, because, or I guess other agents would say it was kind of your gut.
Right.
He'd given good intelligence, you interviewed him, and you just felt like something was off.
Yeah, so I walked away from this debriefing thinking something is wrong here, and it took me several days to figure it out. And when I finally came to the conclusion of is, he didn't have the ego that I was used to seeing. And when I would ask him questions about his role in Al-Qaeda as an emir, which he'd claimed to be, he shifted. He suddenly started shifting in his seat, and he started sweating, and he started, pulling on his collar, and all these nonverbals that indicate that he felt uncomfortable with the story he was providing me. And I finally realized that he was a fabricator. He was never a member of Al-Qaeda, never mind being an emir or a leader, and he had been parlaying this relationship with the CIA to get money and put food on the table to feed his family.
And you can't blame him for that, but at the same time, you can't use that intelligence.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so you and your husband, there's so much more we could talk about, but you and your husband did leave the CIA,
Yes.
and kind of saying to God, okay, I know you want us to leave at this time, what's next? And you ended up being part of one of the most historic airlifts of Iraqi refugees into Slovakia. So tell me that story.
Well, it was just so fascinating. We left the CIA and we were a little bit scared whether we could have an opportunity to do anything so meaningful again. And I think when you say stuff like that to God, He must just laugh. We were partnered with a group of people who said there are some people in Iraq and Syria who have been displaced by ISIS, and if we don't help find a place of refuge for them, then who knows what will happen. And so it was perfect for Joseph and I, because we were the ones asked to operationalize this idea. And so we're used to carrying out operations in war zones and difficult places.
And discerning who is a true
Yes.
Christian refugee, that
Yes.
it was Christian in particular that you were helping, or who was actually trying to slip out as a terrorist.
Right, because we didn't want to put our names on a project and say, we want to help these people and have somebody in the midst of them that was a criminal or a terrorist that could pose a threat to the receiving country. So the ability to vet people and information was absolutely critical for that project.
I know it was insane, and there's so much to it, but that day when you finally saw everyone lift off in the airplane,
Yeah.
what was that like?
The emotions of that moment were so overwhelming, because that project almost didn't happen so many times. And we were thwarted, it seemed like, at every turn, and as I spell out in the book in great detail. And so when it finally occurred, it was just this huge release of pent-up emotion, and so grateful to God that He had showed His hand in giving these people another chance at safety and freedom, really.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, you give your life to God, and you ask Him to write the story, and then He writes this crazy story where you're in the CIA and you're airlifting refugees, and now you're an author. So many unexpected things in your life. What would you say to people who maybe have given their life to Christ, but maybe haven't quite signed up for all of that?
Right.
You know, or maybe we're just kind of scared of what He's going to come up with.
I tell people that we have got to trust God, that He knows better than we do what we're capable of. So if He opens a door, walk through it even if you are scared. And there was nothing that I did in the CIA or since the CIA that didn't totally intimidate me, but I did it anyway. And really the bottom line is that ordinary people can do really extraordinary things when their faith is greater than their fear.
I hope somebody just wrote that down. That is such a good quote. Ordinary people can do extraordinary things when their faith is greater than their fear. There is so much more to your story. You are going to have to get the book, Breaking Cover, Michele Rigby ASSAD. It is available on our e-store. I could not put this book down. Of course, I secretly want to be a CIA agent, so that could be why. But thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story.
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back.